Welcome to another Kings of War 3rd Edition Battle Report. The Super Herd versus the Sylvans with Basilean allies. 2,000 points. The scenario is control. Alright, the Super Herd is just a takeoff of a name that George O'Connell gave his Warhammer army back in the day. These are actually models that I've used from my old Wood Elf army and models that I have from my old Beastmen army. And as many of you know, I do play online with the same thing I have models for here personally, or have painted. Sometimes I even keep myself to what I have painted models. And not saying that that's noble or anything, but it just lets me play with them and to see if they could actually be useful on the tabletop. So this army has two hordes of guardian brutes, one with the brew of sharpness, one with the potion of the caterpillar, a horde of lichens with the brew of haste, two hordes of forest shamblers, two troops of wild gur panthers, a beast of nature with fly and 7 attacks upgrade, a glade walker druid with surge, heal, and the shroud, a tree herder with the blessings of the gods. I just want to say I have no experience playing the herd. I just know that I have these models, and so that's the way I set up the list. I do have some Beastmen models, like some Gores and Ungores, that I could bring out and put in the list, but like I say, off the top of my head, this is what I had. But I think maybe in retrospect that I would probably have dropped one of the Guardian Brute hordes and got something that had maybe could get 2 drops out of that's still moderately effective, just to help out with the scenarios that are taking table quarters and stuff like that. Alright, since I had no experience in this army, this is my deployment. In the upper left hand corner, I just put a troop of wild gur panthers. In the woods, I went ahead and put my guardian brutes with the brew of the potion of the caterpillar. Next to them, the lichens were there in the edge of the woods. Next to them was one of the forest shambler hordes. The tree man was right in the middle. And then, as you see, I've already started moving. This is another forest shambler horde. Off to the right of them is the guardian brutes with the brew of sharpness, the beast of nature, and lastly another wild gur panther troop. And since we're playing control, I kind of spread out probably more than I should have. And Polly had a nice bunch package right there in the middle, and a lot of speed out on the flank. Over here, there's much speed except for the dragon. So I was honestly mystified on what to do, and I won the roll for first turn and just let him take it. So as you'll notice, our armies are surprisingly similar. That's because I am playing the herd and he is playing the Sylvans, and of course they have a lot of the same units. And then on top of that, he added the Basilean allies in there to give him some punch to bust up some of my big units of big hordes of nasty stuff. So on his turn, he moved up. I think those are his Basilean cavalry over on the left. It moved up and angled. Behind them are the wild gur panthers of his. The next unit. All right, the kind of orange unit with white is Sisterhood Panther Lancers. They are very, very super fast, 20-inch move. He'd moved his wild gur panthers forward to Dactus Chaff. The dragon went ahead and flew from the right side toward the left. He moved up his tree. That what you're seeing here is the result of our scout moves. I have not moved yet, so that's why my other guys are there. He moved his again on the right side. He had moved these 2 regiments of hunters of the wild up into the woods to, of course, try to provoke a hasty early charge from me, and that was the end of his first move. All right, this is my first move, and it was a pathetic one. As a matter of fact, I got really grumpy after I saw this move. So on the left, the Guardians moved up to the edge of the woods to confront the cavalry that was moving toward me. I had no idea that those sister Panther Lancer have a 20-inch charge, and so you can see my flank is in the wind already this game. And I'm already in a huge amount of trouble. Up in the upper right hand corner, I decided to I just used my the Gur Panthers to try to flank his 2 units of wild hunters in the woods down there, and that was pretty much it for the first turn. Like I said, the mistake is I'm going to pay for the rest of the game. So you can see I took a rare first or second turn charge. I'm pretty sure I could have taken the knights in the front and then dealt with them, but those Panther Lancer girls hit me in the flank and it was over. His Gur Panthers charged my Lycans, of course, to keep me from just blasting into his flank on the next turn and finishing him off. So this did not go well for me, and the Guardian Brutes were destroyed without really doing anything for the game. Because I screwed up, I just didn't realize how far that those guys moved, and I was mad about it a little bit, but then I think, hell, I could have looked up the list. It's not my, I mean, it's all my fault. So anyway, that was a huge mistake, and like I said, my left flank is in shambles right off the bat. So the rest of the game, I am playing catch up. Alright, again, you can see the result of my error, and now my valuable Guardian Brute Regiment has met its demise. The dragon is now also poised to take advantage of my army, and so now his left flank is so strong that there's really nothing I can do about it. So I have to have some success on the right to try to make up for this glaring error. Alright, for some dumb reason, probably out of frustration, I charged the Wild Gur Panther troop in the flank with my my guys, and it was just dumb because the outcome, no matter what I did, I wasn't going to be able to turn that unit back, and it just was a crippling mistake. So that made 2 crippling mistakes, and now it's only turn 2. So like, do I make a mistake every turn? But that was not a smart move. My other little Gur Panthers moved out trying to get away from everything, because I mean this game is about taking control of the table sections. Over on the right flank, as we started calling him, the big bird, the beast of nature or something like that, went ahead and made a big fly to the flank of his troops over there, and the Gur Panthers also made a quick little nimble move to get on the flank of those units over there. I mean, I had no, aspirations of those Gur Panthers killing those things, but it was more of a threat thing than it was anything else. So that was the end of the move. So I put this in here as a teaching slide to show you the potential doom of what I had done. My on the right hand side, he had moved his 4 shamblers up and able to charge mine, and that was, I mean, all I had to do was move back like a quarter of an inch and not been in charge range. But again, I was already buffaloed, maybe because of losing those units over there, and because my left flank was about to be in tatters. The inside the circle there, you could see where my 4 shamblers charged those Gur Panthers, and you can see just from the and you know they were going to die, so you can see where the dragon had charges. He could charge the Lycans before they moved, the 4 shamblers in the rear, but the worst thing is these other 4 shamblers are charging me in the flank there too. So now I've let both of my units of 4 shamblers get charged, and like I said, this game is just a learning experience of mistakes, and I wanted to kind of show you guys the some teaching points, I guess, of what not to do, not supposedly what to do. So this is his turn 3. He's moved, like I said, the dragon went ahead and charged the Lycans and did 5 wounds. His 4 shambler charged my 4 shamblers in the flank and did 9 wounds, which is pretty good. The other 4 shambler unit charged and did 5 wounds to my 4 Shambler units, and the rest of his army just kind of turned to flank me. If I said there was probably a mistake, I probably would have just ignored those Gur Panther guys and turned those fast ass Lancers toward the middle of my army, and maybe rolled down the flank. But I don't know that. I think he was just now trying to get rid of that chaff unit, because they were going to could potentially take control one of these sections of table, and that was my ideal with them. So I guess if they're gone, they can't control a damn thing. All right, on the right flank, his tree man had moved just a tad too far forward, and I have wild charge D3 on those Guardian Brutes for the Brew of Sharpness, and I rolled a 3, and so I was able to make a flank charge into the tree man and get rid of him. And even then, they're an awesome guy. I mean, I think I did 18 wounds, which is amazing since they're armor 6. But then then I just pivoted the Guardians back toward the Hunters of the Wild in the forest there. The big bird flew over everything and started trying to menace the back of his army. My Gur Panthers on the right side moved up behind the hill a little bit, and that was a huge mistake. I just needed to have moved them down the table away from his army. Up in the very middle, my tree man had moved up, and he surged into the flank of Polly's 4 Shamblers, and they destroyed that unit. So now I was looking pretty good on my right flank so far. The guys that were flanked, again, my screw up. I couldn't even turn them around. There was nothing I could do. They were just totally. That was basically a dead unit. All I could do is hope that they hold out longer than they did. And then the Lycans, they were not in an aggressive mood today, and so they only did 1 wound back to the dragon. So this is Polly's turn 4. The end of it, you can see that disaster has befallen my army again. Now I've lost the unit of 4 Shamblers, which I should have lost, and now he's facing toward the flank of my tree man and my 4 Shamblers. The dragon and the cavalry easily finish off the Lycans, and now, like I say, he's got 4 speedy units left on his left flank, and on the right flank, I'd left those stupid Gur Panthers too close to the edge of the table, and I could not figure out a way to get them away from him legally. So they were stuck there too. And one of his wild hunters went ahead and just moved way past the Guardian Brutes, so I couldn't charge him. I mean, they would have had 0.0 chance against Guardian Brutes with 30 swings hitting on 3s. So they wisely just made a move to try to take some of these work on some of these table quarter things, control sections, I mean. Alright, so Big Bird went ahead and charged the dragon. I didn't expect to do anything but to keep the damn thing from flying around and killing the back of my Guardian Brutes. The Tree Man and I surged the Glade Stalkers into his unit of Glade Stalkers. I think that's what they're called. I'm not sure what it is. And was able to, I think in this fight I did 8 wounds to him, but that wasn't going to be near enough. And now my Tree Man's kind of hanging out there to be charged by his cavalry. Did a couple wounds maybe to the dragon, but he had all the usual Basilean stuff to get rid of all of his wounds, or most of them anyway. So in turn 5, my incompetence cost me both units of my Gur Panthers, and his guys were just so fast with the if they didn't get him, the Lancers would have got him. And also his cavalry went ahead and charged the Tree Man, but at least it was in the front. And then his Glade Stalkers went ahead and countercharged my particular unit of them. Like you say, it was very important that I did a wound, and I think he got both of them back, but he still did the wound, and so I guess that's a question for rules. Is if he's still disrupted, regardless of the fact that he got them back. So anyway, but you see that my brutes are facing the wrong way of the world. So anyway, we'll have to see what the result of the turn will. I believe this is the start of my turn 5, or the start of his, I can't remember. As you could see, my big bird had taken 3 wounds from his dragon, which wasn't that bad actually. The tree man had taken 5 wounds from the cavalry charge. Down at the bottom, below him was the forest stalkers, had got up to 10 wounds versus the 8 on his guy, and both Gur Panther units are gone. So this is my turn 5. I managed to kill the unit of 4 shamblers in front of my 4 shamblers. I did heal them back, and I had my aura of life, and that got some of my wounds back on my dudes, and that was helpful. The most fortunate thing to happen this turn was the tree man managed to roll really well and destroy that unit of cavalry. That was fantastic. So now I went from being a total no chance of doing anything to when I got rid of that unit, that was huge, absolutely huge. The 4 shamblers, the guardian brutes started moving back toward the middle in case there was a turn 7. But I was right on the edge of the line. In other words, where I was at, I could back up into that table control section, or I could stay in the middle and try to put my unit strength in there. So they were actually not in a bad position right there, and they had easily enough charge distance to get anything that kind of blew through that area. Alright, this is Paul's turn 6, and he pulled some trickery on me that I didn't like, but hey, he's a tricky guy. He disengaged from my big eagle guy and then charged the tree man in the flank. Because what happened was once I killed the cavalry, I was able to turn toward the lancers and his hunters of the wild, but I didn't think they had any chance of killing the tree man. So he wisely just went ahead and disengaged and charged the tree man in the flank, much to my chagrin. Excellent move. I mean, again, another move that I did not see coming. Nothing I could have done about it, but I did not see it coming. And so the tree man bites it on this turn. Since he pulled some trickery on me, I think it was only appropriate that I pulled some trickery on him. I went ahead and pivoted my 4 shamblers and then used surge to charge them into the flank of his hunters of the wild. I needed to get rid of that unit strength if at all possible. So I ended up doing that and destroying the unit of hunters of the wild. So now I'm not in actually too bad a shape. Alright, this is the final picture of the game with the my shamblers had turned toward his dragon in case it was a turn 7. The guardian beast, I'm pretty sure, could take down that dragon on turn 7 if there was one, even if he killed the my guys there. So there wasn't a turn 7, and so this is the end. I just flown the big bird up into the quadrant up there to negate basically the quadrant he had down here with the Gur Panthers, and he had another quadrant over on the right hand side. Not quadrant, I guess it's part of a 6th. But I had the unit strength in the middle, so I gained 1 point for that, 1 point for the big bird. He had 1 point for the bottom left and 1 point for the bottom right, and so the result was a 2-2 draw, despite all the stupidity I had during this game. Alright, now at the end of every game, of course, I do an after action or a final thoughts. I just want to go through some of the mistakes that I made, maybe that you guys won't make in the future. The first mistake I made was not knowing the other person's list, and I'm sure Polly would have given me his list if I wanted it. It's not because I don't trust him, it's because that the units with allies are in 2 different books, and sometimes that makes it hard for you to know which army goes, which aren't allied, which ones are, and then you have to keep flipping back and forth between the books. So the not knowing the list, I didn't realize that those sister lancer things were so ungodly fast. I mean, they were like goblin cavalry, which are a 20-inch move. And that was a big mistake on my part, and that's what resulted in the second mistake, which is with the guardian brutes. I'm pretty sure the Guardian Brutes could have taken the charge from the cavalry while they were in the woods, but I think maybe he had Caterpillar on him too, so probably they probably would have died either way. But so that was a huge mistake there with the letting that unit get killed on turn two. I mean, I thought the game was over right then. And then lastly, there was no reason in the world for my Forest Shambler Horde to charge into that unit of Panthers. I mean, there was no way that they were going to live with a Lycan Horde in their front, and they're basically not that hard to kill. And I don't know what I was thinking. Maybe that I thought that I could do something else, but then they were stuck the whole turn, 2 turns in a row. They were stuck totally with their flank in the wind, and I lost that unit without really doing anything good either. So those are the things that I did during the game that didn't that were not good, and like I said, should have cost me the game in all honesty. As far as things that did work out well is when the tree man killed his unit of knights, he should have had, he thought we had a reroll because of the dragon there, but then I realized that that they were not in the same list, and so they were not allied units. They were allied units and not native units, and so that left them so they could not re-roll it, and then that's how the horseman died. So that was a good thing for me. With the that may have been right, it may have been wrong. I don't know. I'll just think about it in a minute if that was which part of the unit. But we did look it up, and they were not part of the. They were part of the allied contingent, not part of the main army. So that was a good thing. Is just to remember a rule that helps you every once in a while. As far as the army, I really think that I could get rid of the 1 unit of Guardian Brutes at least, and maybe break that down into 2 of something, just to have some cheap stuff to go grab table quarters and things like that, or maybe 1 decent unit and maybe some harpies or something along those lines. The other thing is to go big and just eliminate the Guardian Brutes and put some Earth Elementals in there. Just to hold my flank, because Earth Elementals are amazingly resilient, and plus I have the heal from the Druid that could have kept them in the game a lot longer, even with all the nasty charges they would have taken. So I'm thinking that if I did the first glance would be to go ahead and replace that 1 unit of Guardian Brutes with Earth Elementals, and I think that would have helped out a lot, just for the flank holding thing. The Beast of Nature thing, I don't know if it was any good. Point is that I hate being dominated by flyers, and sometimes the only way that you can keep from being dominated by flyers is to make sure that you take 1 of your own, because it could just as easily dominated his army, but he's not that great. He's not very expensive, and he's only crushing 2, but I mean, he could stay, he could go. It doesn't really matter with him. But I did like having a flyer unit that's not just a pushover like gargoyles or harpies or something like that. And so it's okay. It could probably stay in the list, at least initially. And then I'll have to figure out what to do with the rest. But like I said, my first glance would be to replace 1 Guardian Brute unit with a unit of Earth Elementals in order to protect my flank a little bit better, so that will allow my tree men and my shamblers and all that kind of stuff to get forward. I mean, I really only have 1 unit in the whole army that just absolutely is a killer, and that's that unit of Guardian Brutes with the Brew of Sharpness. So I guess the whole point is to try to deliver that unit into something to kill it instantly. But with the tree man and with the 4 shamblers, which are hard to kill, and then with the healing, that's nice. I mean, the tree man, of course, he has his aura of life or whatever it's called, and he brings a wound back every turn. And then usually I'll get 3 to 4 wounds back from healing. And then the Lycans have regeneration, and they're another one of my, I guess, alpha strike units because of their speed 20, and they hit a ton when they hit. So if you make a mistake and leave a flank open way out there somewhere, they will absolutely take advantage of it. So like I said, I just have to kind of shift my play thoughts, because this army is so different than anything else that I play, and I think I will make a couple of minor adjustments to it, and then be able to go out and try to play it again. But just really the herd is really not my style of army at all. But I have models at the house. If I wanted to play it now, I know that I can, and that will. So in the future, hell, I may play them again, but they do hit hard. I mean, they hit a ton. It's just that uh, they can get outmaneuvered if you don't have something fast in there to, or something that can just hold a flank. And like you said, you saw how fast I got outmaneuvered. I mean, I was on my heels instantly because of my lack of speed. And of course, that's part of that was my fault with my mistake with the Guardian Brutes and getting them killed early. But um, like I said, I could see some benefits of adding something in the list that's fast, like maybe some of the Centaur guys, which I really like from Polly playing them against me a couple of times, and those guys would have helped a lot too. So anyway, it's back to the drawing board for this army, and just see what I could do to make it better. Anyway, thanks, Polly, for the game. I know I was a little snippy during it because you were kicking my ass most of it, but really did in retrospect. I have learned a lot from this game, and the one thing I tell Polly every day is that I play. We play a lot, and so it's like every time that I play him, I learn something, and that is what I appreciate about playing it, because he's a veteran and has played games for a lot of years, and he knows a lot of tricks that I've never thought of, and he comes up with some good ideas for his list that I've never thought of. And after you see him, well, I maybe need to put this in my list to counter it, or I need to be aware of that in the future, that something similar might happen. So anyway, great game, Polly.